Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The Curse of Oak Island, an ancient Roman coin dating back to 300 BC found on Lot 5. There was major excitement on this week's The Curse of Oak Island when the team learned about the discovery of an ancient Roman coin thought to date between 300 BC and 600 AD. Last night's episode was full of lots of new information that will cause the guys to think again. At the Money Pit, the borehole drilling team went in search of a tunnel but was left flummoxed when they found a new shaft instead. But perhaps the most significant discovery from last night centered around a tiny artifact from Gary Drayton's top pocket. Alex Lagina and Jack Begley invited coin expert numismatist Sandy Campbell into the interpretative center to take a look at the half coin Gary discovered last week on Lot 5. And in the calmest, soberest possible manner, he delivered some earth-shattering news. After looking at the data regarding the chemical composition and examining the coin up close, Sandy ruled that it came from ancient Rome. He suggested it was either Roman or Byzantium, which was the successor empire to the Romans based at Constantinople. Sandy dated it as somewhere between 300 BC and 600 AD, but he leaned more toward a Roman origin rather than the later Byzantium era. What is a Roman coin doing on Oak Island? A somewhat dazed-looking Rick Lagina demanded to know what made him think that. Sandy assured him, the design is definitely Roman. He pointed to the image of a tree and a person and insisted they were Roman designs. The next question was, what on earth is it doing on Oak Island? This was something Sandy was unable to answer and something that will need further investigation. As we come to expect, narrator Robert Clotworthy began making some wild connections, suggesting the coin may be related to the Roman road visited in Portugal last season and the Swamp's Stone Road. It's possible he's correct, but the guys will need to do a lot more proper investigation. A tunnel turns into a shaft at the Oak Island Money Pit. Meanwhile, at the Money Pit, the drill team was attempting to chase a tunnel they happened upon a few weeks ago near the garden shaft. This tunnel had been encountered at a shallow 70 feet, leading the guys to speculate it may lead to an offset chamber. The guys decided a new borehole was needed to see where the tunnel led. However, Terry Matheson and Charles Barkhouse were pretty shocked when at a mere 39 feet, they hit a lot of wood. They quickly realized that this was the supposed tunnel they were searching for, and that it was actually a brand new shaft. This came as a big surprise as they don't have any historical data stating there's a shaft at this location, and it is definitely going to need further investigation. The recovered wood beams looked to be cut using a pit saw, suggesting they were cut before the industrial age, perhaps around the 15th century. Craig Tester, noting the rings, suggested the wood be sent for dendrochronology dating. The guys are hoping that the garden shaft project will soon get the go-ahead to continue. Once that shaft is stabilized, the Dumas Mining Company will be able to burrow 20 feet toward this shaft, so it can be properly investigated. The sky above Oak Island was a patchwork of clouds, promising both sunshine and shadow, as the island's enigmatic past called out to the present with a whisper carried on the wind. Down below, the team of treasure hunters, Rick and Marty Lagina, along with their loyal crew, stood around Lot 5, a parcel of land that had always seemed like a silent guardian of the island's secrets. Today, however, Lot 5 was about to break its silence in a way no one could have anticipated. The shovels struck the earth with a rhythm that mirrored the heartbeat of those gathered, their excitement barely contained. Every inch of the soil felt charged with the anticipation of discovery. Each clump of dirt held the promise of revealing a chapter of history long forgotten. The Laginas, seasoned by years of searching and tempered by the island's many mysteries, were not strangers to the feeling of expectation. Yet something about this day felt different, almost fated. The first glint of metal wasn't unusual. Over the years, they had unearthed countless relics, buttons, nails, tools, each telling its own tale of the island's past. But this time, the glint was different. It wasn't the dull shine of a rusty nail or the corroded edge of an old coin. It was something more profound, something that seemed to echo across the centuries. As the dirt was carefully brushed away, the object revealed itself. A coin, aged and weathered, yet unmistakably ancient. The coin was round, but the edges were slightly irregular, as if it had been shaped by hand rather than machine. On one side, there was a profile of a man, a figure draped in a toga, his features worn by time but still bearing the unmistakable Roman nose and stern expression of someone who had witnessed the rise and fall of empires. Around the edge of the coin were faded inscriptions in Latin, barely legible but enough to spark the imaginations of everyone present. Could it be? Rick Lagina whispered, his voice thick with awe. The coin was passed carefully from hand to hand, each member of the team handling it as if it were a fragile link to a distant past. The faces of those gathered reflected a mix of disbelief and excitement. They have found Roman artifacts before, traces, hints that the Romans might have reached the shores of North America long before Columbus. But this was different. This was a coin, an undeniable piece of history, minted over 2,000 years ago. "Let's get this analyzed," Marty Lagina said, his voice tinged with the pragmatism that had driven their quest from the start. Yet, even he couldn't hide the wonder in his eyes. Later that day, the team gathered in the war room, the island's nerve center, where history and mystery often collided. Dr. Ian Spooner, the resident expert on all things ancient, was called in to examine the find. His fingers traced the contours of the coin with the reverence of a priest handling a sacred relic. "This is incredible," Spooner muttered, his eyes widening as he studied the details. "This coin is Roman, no doubt about it. But the date?" He paused, and the room fell silent, the tension palpable. "This coin dates back to around 300 BC. This is one of the oldest artifacts we've ever found on Oak Island." A collective gasp filled the room. The implications were staggering. How could a coin from ancient Rome, a civilization that had thrived on the other side of the world, end up buried on a small island off the coast of Nova Scotia? Theories began to swirl, each more tantalizing than the last. Had Roman explorers reached the shores of North America long before it was known to the rest of the world? Could Oak Island have been a stopping point for ancient mariners who crossed the Atlantic in search of new lands and new riches? Or was the coin a token of a lost treasure, hidden away by those who sought to safeguard it from the ravages of time and the greed of men? As the team debated these questions, the coin seemed to glow under the lights of the war room, a beacon of history that had crossed the oceans and millennia to reach them. It was a puzzle piece in a mystery that had haunted Oak Island for centuries, a mystery that now seemed even more complex and intriguing. The discovery of the coin also brought with it a renewed sense of purpose. For years, the Laginas and their team had dug through the island's soil, braved the treacherous waters of the Money Pit, and unraveled countless clues, all in the hopes of finding the legendary treasure rumored to be buried there. But this coin suggested that the island's history might be even richer than they had imagined. It wasn't just about gold or jewels. It was about uncovering a legacy, a connection to ancient civilizations that had left their mark on the world.